Welcome back to Dave's stinky shed. In the shed, because there's lots of distractions in the house at the moment, lots of people in there, and just thought it would be easier to do it from here. Talking about distractions, that is doing my head in, so we'll turn that off as well. Rotten bottom fishing. Again, a lot of people travel to South Wales to fish our grounds and they're not set up and prepared great for it. So I'm going to show you how I fish a rotten bottom system and what has worked for me. And I've used this system since before my youngest daughter was born. She's 13 next month. I think I've used this system for about 15 years. Before that, I was on a different system for a long time, which worked fine, but I prefer this new system. So the system that I like to use is, I think these are Gemini. I think they're Gemini Breakers, they're called. And the reason I like these is because they are safe. Okay, so when you're casting a rotten bottom system, the whole purpose of a rotten bottom, without telling you how to suck eggs, is to have a weak link between your rig and your lead. Your lead is sacrificial, that can ping off, you can get everything else back. So, like I say, these clips are really safe. Safe for casting, which is really important. And they're safe for casting because they've got 3 little stainless legs, a little red disc, and that keeps everything nice and neat. And when you're swinging your lead pendulum and whatever, there's no way that can come off, and it's completely safe, which keeps everybody around you happy and alive and in one piece. So the other really common way to rotten bottom fish is with a pin, a floating pin. Okay, so this little bit of foam with a little tack in it. There's different ways of doing this. I've got leads with molds I've modified with 2 eyes in. Okay, or instead of having 2 eyes on your lead, you can have 2 oval links on a swivel on the bottom of your rig, which does exactly the same thing. So how this works is this works by having a bit of foam in between the 2 eyes, and then when that hits the seabed, the foam pops out, releases it, and you're left in the same position, attached to the rig, sacrificial lead, 15-pound mono, weak link, which can ping off if you get stuck and get everything back. The most popular way, I think, is probably this way. And this is a great method, and this is a really good method because it doesn't introduce another snag to your rig. Okay, and this is to invert a Gemini link. Okay, see, so imagine that one top Gemini links your rig, that other inverted one is what your lead clips onto, like so. There's different ways of doing this, but that is the basic way of doing it. Now this is great because, like I said, when that's off, you've only got another link on the bottom to add to the snagging scenario of your situation on your rig. But what I don't like about this is the fact that I don't think it's quite as safe, well, it's not as safe as what I was saying earlier about the other Gemini system, because when you're swinging this, there is potential for that to quite easily pop off. Okay, so you've got 3 methods. You've got the Gemini breaker or other similar devices. You got a floating pin, and then you got your inverted genie link. So I like a rotten bottom 12 to 14 inches long for most of my low water fishing in South Wales. Okay, there's other things you can do to it to encourage having a better session. So you can up your main line, you can up your leader, you can tie a different shock leader knot. So I'll tie a Gemini twist, and a Gemini twist or a spider hitch will have a far stronger knot than what a standard shock leader knot will. A standard shock leader knot, if it's 20-pound line, I think the break-in strain of the knot itself is about 10 or 12 pounds. It's incredibly reduced. But with a Gemini twist or a spider hitch or a similar style of knot, the strength of the knot is stronger than the main line itself. Now this has two different pros and cons. The one pro is that you're going to get a lot more of your gear back, but the con of it is that it could snap anywhere. It's not necessarily going to snap on your leader knot, it's going to snap on your main line somewhere. So I was going back to it, I like a rotten bottom, 12 to 14 inches long. You never know what you're fishing over. You could be fishing over ledges, over boulders, into a cavern, into a hole. There could be a raised bit and a lower bit, and a lot of people assume that it's your hooks which are stuck when you're snagged, and I think I reckon that is true for about 35–40% of the time. But there's a lot of components on your rig. There's a lot of line from your rod, your reel to your rig, and a lot of the time it's something else other than your hook getting stuck. A lot of people will go use a dongle because it's gonna save you on your tackle losses. It might save you a couple, but you know, most of the time I think it's a swivel or a bead or your leader. Okay, you can imagine if you're fishing 120 yards out and your line is literally running flat, coming into the water, going down, and at some point the angle's getting less and less and less, and the tide is pushing your line flat along the bottom of the seabed. And we are not fishing in South Wales over nice clean sand. We are fishing over ledges and boulders and mixed reefs and coral and shit and all sorts of manner of fucking crap, right? It's your line. Most of the time when you're locked up solid and you've got nothing at all going, and it's locked up solid, it's your leader or your line which is stuck. So regardless on what hook you got on, it doesn't make a difference. No matter if you haven't got a hook on, you still lose the lot sometimes. It's probability. We don't know what we're fishing on. It never uncovers. There's very strong tide, very deep water, very shallow water, mixed on some beaches. You can increase your potential of getting stuff back and reduce your hook sizes. So if you normally use a 4-0, drop down to a 3-0. If you normally use a 3-0, drop down to a 2-0. And so on, so on. So there's my rotten bottom. I will spin this up. I will spin that lead like so. And then grab it in the middle. That will twist up really nice and neat. Look at that twist. You haven't got a big bow hanging off. We clip it up. And then what we do is this little span up loop, we push through one of the gaps on the grip lead like so. Okay, and that keeps everything nice and neat. That keeps that weak link rotten bottom away from your hooks and your bait and stops it tangling on a cast or when it hits the seabed. That'll come out when it hits the seabed because the disc will come up, the lead will come off, the loop will pull out from those wires, and you'll be fishing in a functional style. Okay, I'll show you again. Get another one. Okay, so we spin it up, spin that lead right up, grab it in the middle, bring the two halves, the two start and end points together, clip it on, put your disc on, and look at that, that span up lovely and neat. And again, poke that through that eye, through that gap on the leader, on the wire of the lead, and we're good to go. And that is how I fish a rotten bottom in South Wales. So if you need any advice, ask. And basically the only way you will achieve any sort of success, is to go out and fail. Okay, I've gone out and failed in South Wales thousands of times to get to the level of competency and experience to where I am. Okay, if you are extremely apprehensive about fishing rough ground, you will never get over it until you go and try it and fail. Okay, and by failing, all you're doing is learning. As simple as that. Go and give it a try. Rotten bottoms.